Hi, welcome back folks. Today's video is entitled, should I personally or even yourselves consider leasing a Tesla Model 3? I suppose actually this video should be entitled, should we consider leasing any kind of electric vehicle? Because as you'll see in a minute, there's some very good savings to be made, both in terms of how you potentially lease the vehicle, and then also obviously due to the greatly reduced running costs. So I started thinking about this a few weeks ago because I did do a video on purchasing a Tesla Model 3, looking at either using their own finance or using, say, an offset mortgage to borrow the money at a much lower rate. But what I didn't consider in that is leasing the car, and also digging a little bit deeper, because this is not something I've really done before. I did do a video about a year ago looking at the electric Mini, but I've not really considered electric cars for myself ever before. And I've dug a little bit deeper, and it's astounding actually how much you can save. So what I've done, look, I've just been over to Tesla. For some reason it's not working though. That's good. Let's try again. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. Right. So I nipped over to Tesla, and as I say, this would apply to any electric car. And I've just spec'd a Model 3 standard range, and all I've done is put some 19-inch wheels on it. And as you can see at the bottom, it says £615 a month. So if we go to customize financing, I just want to dig a little bit deeper. So I've chosen here 36 months with a 0 deposit. So this is effectively a 35+1 lease. So 1 month initial payment and then 35 equal payments at £615 including VAT. Now, yes, that sounds an awful lot of money, but what I want to talk about today is whether, or what I should say, the savings you can make if your company operates a salary sacrifice car scheme. And the reason for that is, not only, as you'll see in a minute, you save up to 42% in those lease payments because of the saving in income tax and national insurance payments, but also you will your employer will save the national insurance they pay on your behalf as well, so it actually makes it cheaper for the employer. They can also reclaim, my understanding is 50% of the VAT they make on the lease payment as well. So it actually works out pretty cheap. So what I did, I went over to Excel and I did a bit of a spreadsheet. As you know, I'm quite famous for them. If you'd like a copy of my PCP car finance calculator, we're currently on version 6, and there's plenty of videos on my channel if you've not watched them before explaining how the spreadsheet works. Please do email me here, and for a one-off £10 donation you can have a copy for life and as many updates as I ever decide to make. So just wanted to throw that in there. So what I've done on here, look, is I thought, okay, we'll get into the running costs in terms of the electricity and pence per mile and that kind of thing in a minute. But what I thought I'd do is I just thought I'd see how salary sacrificing a car such as this at £615 a month will actually compare with what I'm currently paying on a personal loan on my Porsche Macan. So at the moment, you can see here, I've put my tax on my Porsche Macan, I think is £210. I haven't taxed it yet since I bought it, so I think it's £210, £205, something like that. And I also pay £329 a month on a personal loan on the car. So that's £3,948. And let's say £300 roughly on service costs. Some years it's going to be smaller than that, some years it's going to be much larger than that. So I've kind of estimated about £300 a year. So that means that car, excluding fuel and tyres and things like that, is costing me roughly £4,458 a month, I hope not, a year. Okay, so 4,458 a year. So then what I did, I thought, okay, well, if I was to salary sacrifice that amount, how much how much is that in real terms, in terms of a salary sacrifice figure? Now you need to work this out for your own particular circumstances. It's roughly 32% saving for a 20% taxpayer. That's 20% saving in income tax and 12% on NI. And then it goes up to a 42% saving if you're a 40% taxpayer. And then there's kind of a little bit in between, depending on how much of your income is in the 40% band. Now, for me, the saving is roughly, when I've calculated it myself, and there's plenty of salary calculators out there on the web where you can put a salary sacrifice amount in and see how much it actually reduces your net pay by. For me, it works out at about a 38% saving on my current employment. So what I've done here, look, I've taken this 4458, which is a total running cost of my Porsche Macan, as I say, excluding tyres, etc. And I've kind of divided that by 0.62, which gives me that 38% uplift, if you like. And that comes out at 719032. Okay, so 719032. So what that basically means is I can salary sacrifice £7,190.32, and the net result to me is only 4,458. So that means we can start looking at much more expensive cars that we may not normally lease ourselves because of the salary sacrifice saving. So you can see here, if we take that 719032 and divide it by 12, we get a monthly salary sacrifice car payment of £599.19. Now, a lot of these car leases will include everything. They'll include insurance, they'll include servicing, everything. Okay, so I thought, okay, well, what can I get for a gross, if you like, monthly figure of 599? Well, as you can see on here, it's a little bit more expensive, but I managed to find this Tesla for 615. And actually, what I will do, although I don't like them, if I go to the standard wheels, I can get it down to 592 a month. Okay, so that's pretty close. So that means that if I was to salary sacrifice £592 a month, it would actually cost me in real terms in my net pay packet approximately £367.04, which, if you think I'm paying £329 on my car loan, bit of tax, bit of servicing, the Tesla is now working out cheaper per month to lease. This is on a 3-year, 10,000 mile lease than my personal loan on my Macan. So that's great. Now, also, you can reclaim up to 50% or 50% of the VAT payable on that if you're the business owner. So as you're in, if you're trying to sell this to your employer, you could say, well, actually, you can save some VAT on this amount as well. I don't know whether that VAT saving is passed on to us as employees. Who knows? But even if it's not, as you can see, it's still a hell of a saving. Also, what is good for the employer is that they will save company national insurance on that amount. So if we're salary sacrificing £599.19, the employer will save 13.8% of that as well. So they will save £82.69. So it's actually cheaper for them to let you have a car lease on salary sacrifice than it is paying you your normal salary. Okay? Now, this is where the fun starts. Let's have a look at actually how much this car will cost to run. Now, if we take my Porsche Macan, so as you know, I've done a video on this before. My Porsche Macan is a 3-litre V6 diesel. It's not the most efficient diesel, but it's still more efficient than a petrol car. I, on my daily commute, roughly get, I would say, about 30 miles to the gallon. Okay. Now, if we're paying £1.11-ish, £1.10.9, 110.9. I was trying to work out how to say that. 110.9 pence. Yeah, that's what I paid at Sainsbury's for my last fill up. That's probably the cheapest kind of price you'll pay for diesel at the moment in October 2020. But let's say cheapest we can get diesel is 110.9 pence a litre, which equates to £5.04 a gallon. Now, if we take that figure and divide that by 30, it roughly means that my car is costing me 17 pence a mile to run on my daily commute. And I do about 24 miles a day. So that means my daily commute is costing me about £4 a day. Okay. Now, if we look at the electric Tesla, and this will work for any other electric car, rather than saying miles per gallon, electric cars kind of say watts per mile. And I think, looking at various videos that I've seen on the Tesla, they're getting roughly between about 300 and 350 watts per mile. So I've assumed 325 watts per mile. So that basically means that every mile the car consumes 325 watts of energy. So that means we're getting about 3.08 miles per 1 unit of electricity, per 1 kilowatt. Okay, so all I've done is 1,000 divided by 325, so that gives us 3.08 miles per kilowatt. And what I've done now is I've looked at two tariffs. So a normal kind of average tariff, and also I'll show you in a minute an energy provider that I use. I'm not affiliated with them, but Octopus Energy, and I'm sure there's others as well. They offer you a cheap tariff between certain hours in the day, and we'll look at that in a minute. But on a normal standard tariff, I've assumed 15 pence a unit. So 15 pence for a kilowatt, and we're getting 3.08 miles per kilowatt, means that it's costing about 5 pence a mile to run that Tesla. So already you can see that my Porsche Macan was costing me 17 pence a mile in diesel. Even if we use a pretty standard electricity tariff at home, we'll get about 5 pence per mile. So let's assume now that we're doing 10,000 miles per year. In the Macan, that would cost us £1,680 a year in fuel costs. Okay. On the standard 15 pence per unit electricity tariff, it would cost us £471.25. So that means that we are going to save £1,208.89 a year running that Tesla, assuming we can get 325 watts per mile. So that's £100.74 cheaper just to get to work in this car. Okay, now this is the good bit. As I said, my energy provider, Octopus Energy, and I say no affiliation with this, they offer what they call their Octopus Go tariff, and it's a bit like the Economy 7 of years gone by. And it says here, look, the smart tariff with super cheap electricity for 5 pence per kilowatt hour between midnight and 4:30 every night. So I said to myself, okay, well, let's say I don't even use a car charger. Now, for those of you who don't know, a car charger that you have installed at your house by your meter or by your consumer unit or whatever is, I would have said, a 6mm armoured cable, carries 32 amps and gives you about 7.2 kilowatts of charge. So all you do for that is 230 volts times 32 amps gives you about 7 kilowatts, just over 7 kilowatts. But let's say you don't want to do that. And for me, it'd be quite difficult to get a cable directly back to my consumer unit, which is fitted in the downstairs toilet. Or if I wanted it direct to my meter, I'd have to run an armoured cable all the way around the house, right to the detached garage. So I thought, I don't want to do that. So what can I get from a standard 13 amp domestic plug? And I thought to myself, well, if I pulled into my garage every night in this Tesla and got a standard 13 amp charge cable and plugged it into a smart plug and used Alexa or whatever app you want to use, or even a timer on a normal socket, we could tell the socket to only come on between midnight and 4:30 in the morning. So we're going to put in 4 hours of charge. So in 4 hours, effectively, we will be able to get about 12 kilowatts of charge, because on the normal mains, if we take 230 volts, let's just do it here, 230 volts times 13 amps, we get about, let's put it into numbers, we get about 2.990 kilowatts. So times 4, so we're only going to charge this between 12:30 and 4:30, times that by 4, and it's gone on to currency again, we're going to get about 11.9 kilowatts. So in 4 hours, if we are getting roughly, what did we say, 3.08 miles per kilowatt, we will get, let's do that over 1,000 times 3.08, we will get about 36 miles. So I come home, I stick it into my 13 amp plug, and the next day I can drive about 36 miles. And how much has that cost me? Well, at 5 pence a mile, at 5 pence a unit, it's working out at about 1.6 pence per mile. Okay? Because all we've done here, look, is we've said, okay, it's 0.05, so 5p a unit, and we've said that we get 3.08 miles per unit. So if it's 5 pence for 1 unit, 5 pence divided by 3.08 gives us 0.016 pounds or 1.6 pence per mile. So that means if we put that into this log, that's going to cost me in a year of motoring to do 10,000 miles, £162.50 a year. Which basically means if we subtract 1680 from 162.50, the saving is £1,517.64 a year, or £126.47. And obviously the more you drive, the more you save. Now obviously you wouldn't probably always charge for those 4 hours, but let's say, you know, one day a week I might work from home and I might not use the car, so that means I can charge it for 4 hours one night, and then I can charge it for 4 hours the next night. Now the battery might deplete slightly, but that means roughly after 2 days in the garage for what, 12 units at 5p, so 60 pence a night times 2, for £1.20 I can drive around 70 miles. And again, you could leave it on longer at the weekend. And yes, if you put a 7 kilowatt charger in, you're obviously in those 4 hours you're going to get about 28 units of charge. Yeah, 7 times 4. I know this is getting complicated now. 28 units of electricity. 28 times 3.08 miles per kilowatt. We're going to get about, what, 28 times 3, 80 odd miles. Well, of course we are. We're going to get twice that, aren't we? 72 miles. Probably a bit more. Yeah, probably 80 miles. So I just thought that was quite interesting, just to dig a little bit deeper into the savings you can make. So not only if your company does offer a salary sacrifice scheme, you can get the car that I've shown here for whatever I said it was. I put that somewhere. £367.04. Oh, and there's something else I haven't mentioned. Also, your fuel costs are considerably cheaper, even if you charge at a standard tariff. One thing I haven't mentioned is benefit in kind tax. Now, benefit in kind is when you are given a benefit which has monetary value. And what your employer normally does is list that value on what's called a P11D, goes to HMRC, and they take that value and they take it off your tax code. So if you've got a standard tax code of 12,500, which is what we're currently on, and you've got a benefit of £1,000 a year, that £1,000 comes off your tax code. So you've now got a tax code of £11,500. So that basically means if you're a 20% taxpayer, that benefit has cost you 20% of £1,000, so £200 a year. Or might cost you £400 a year if you're a 40% taxpayer. The nice thing about electric vehicles is from 2021 there is 0% benefit in kind tax, and in 21-22 it goes up to only 1%, and 22-23 to 25, I think, it only goes to 2%. So that means that if you had a company car, say it was a petrol car, it might have had a benefit in kind percentage of, I don't know, let's say 15%. So you take the value of that car, let's say it's £50,000. 15% benefit in kind tax is 7,500. So that 7,500 comes off your tax code, which means even if you're being given a company car, in the past you would have had to pay £7,500 in tax off your tax code. Okay, so even if you're a 20% taxpayer, you would pay £1,500 a year in income tax. Does that make sense? So 15% of £50,000 is £7,500. That comes off your tax code, and if you're a 20% taxpayer, you will pay 20% of £7,500 in benefit in kind tax. However, because these have got 0% at the moment, and even in 22-23 onwards, you're only going to pay 2%. If this has got a benefit in kind value of, I don't know whether it tells you, let's say we'll take this value here. It might not be quite this amount, but it's, I think this tells you it's 40,490. So that means your benefit in kind tax in year one, so 20, obviously we've not got the full year, but for the remaining months, for the remaining 6 months of this tax year 2021, we would pay 40,490 times 0, obviously. Hello? I'm not sure why it's done that. Let's go back to there. It's all falling apart tonight, isn't it? But in the next tax year, so 21-22, we're going to pay 40,490 times 0.01. £404 a year. Then that amount comes off your tax code. Yeah. So if you're a 20% taxpayer, you're going to pay what, £80 a year in benefit in kind tax, and then in the next year it's going to be double that. So it's going to be £809. So if you're a 40% taxpayer, £809, what's that? £320 a year. So less than £30 a month in company car tax. So you've salary sacrificed the payment and saved, in my case, 38%, but it can be more than that depending on your personal circumstances. It can be less, but it's going to be at least a 32% saving. We've saved a fortune on running costs, and we've also saved a fortune on benefit in kind tax as well. I hope that was useful. Certainly an eye-opener for me, certainly something I've never looked at before, and certainly something that I am considering one day. Do comment, do let me know if anybody's got a Tesla or any electric vehicle. I've never driven an electric vehicle, so I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are. Do let me know, if you financed it in this kind of way or a different kind of way, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.